Senhor, fazei-me instrumento de vossa paz. Onde houver ódio, que eu leve o amor. Onde houver ofensa, que eu leve o perdão. Onde houver discórdia, que eu leve a união. Onde houver dúvida, que eu leve a fé. Onde houver erro, que eu leve a verdade. Onde houver desespero, que eu leve a esperança. Onde houver tristeza, que eu leve a alegria. Onde houver trevas, que eu leve a luz. Ó Mestre, fazei que eu procure mais consolar que ser consolado, compreender que ser compreendido, amar que ser amado, pois é dando que se recebe.
Good evening, Ponto de Luz. It's such a blessing to be here tonight to study the Spirit's book. Tonight, we're going to start with question 179, and we're still working on the subtitle Incarnation on Different Worlds. It's wonderful. We're having an understanding of how it is to be incarnated in different worlds. So before we do start with question 179, we're going to start our moment of study with prayer. So dear God, we thank you for bringing us together tonight to study and pray and bring light to all the places that need healing, that need your light and your love, Lord. Be with us tonight and bless every single home that is now with us and the ones that are going to watch this later. May they be blessed. And with your permission, we start the study of the Spirit's book this evening. So be it. So be it. So question 179. So we're talking about incarnation on different worlds. So question 179, on this question, Kardec asks the spirits, I'm sorry, are the beings that inhabit each world all at the same degree of purification? So when we talk about the beings that are here, right on Earth, not all of us are in the same level of evolution, of course. So it's everyone has their own journey, has their own path, and according to the experiences that were lived and the virtues that were acquired in so many lives, multiple lives. So taking by this, we can guess what the answer would be, considering also other worlds. So when Kardec asked the spirits, are the beings that inhabit each world all at the same degree of purification? What do you think? Of course not. So the answer is no. It's like on Earth. There are some who are more advanced and some who are less advanced. So we have a spectrum, a huge spectrum of differences, and it's not different in different worlds. So it's not something that we can, put a level or a standard to it. We can say that in worlds of trials and atonements, evil predominates, right? But obviously, if we consider each individual or each spirit that's incarnated, there's so much and so many differences between them in their level of evolution. So the answer is no. There are some who are more advanced and some who are less advanced. Question 180. In passing from this world to another, does a spirit retain the intelligence that it possessed here? So let's say Teresa finishes her time of evolution on Earth, acquired some intelligence. When I am ready to incarnate in a different world, will I take what I acquired here, according to Kardec, the intelligence that they possessed here? And the answer is obviously yes. We don't lose it. We do not lose it. Question 180, the answer is undoubtedly, because intelligence is never lost. Isn't that amazing? I mean, this is so comforting. This is so amazing. I was in studying the Spirit's book, you learn so many things that are just so important to us to understand. For example, on the question that we studied last class, question 178, the sub-question has an answer that is very similar to the answer on question 118. So 178 and 118 communicate. So the answer is spirits may retain at a standstill, but they never regress. So we're talking about the law of progress, evolution. So everything that we acquire, we take with us. And the spirits reiterate that multiple times through the book. So talking about never regressing, always progressing, and talking about retaining the intelligence that you acquired here, in the here and the now, and the previous lives. So undoubtedly, because intelligence is never lost. Such a spirit may not have the same means of expressing it. However, it depends both on its degree of purity and the state of the body it acquires. And then there is a little note, see influence of the organism. So let's repeat this. So such a spirit may not have the same means of expressing its intelligence. The intelligence is never lost, but there may be a different way of expressing it. So then they complete. However, it depends both on its degree of purity and the state of the body it acquires. So influence of the organism, when we talk about this, and we're going to see this, we're going to talk about this. Sometimes the spirit has that great level of intelligence, but because the body has some restrictions, it will not be able to express it fully. And we're going to study that when we study the influence of the organism, but just the little note between parentheses, it's that. So question 181, but just pausing here, because intelligence is never lost. This is what we carry with us. One can be put in a prison. One can be put in a hospital. One can be forced to do many things in life. But what's here and what's here, never lost. This is the true treasure. The treasure that is ours. Is ours. So every time you're spending your precious time learning, doing good things for others, developing the love within you, every time you are focusing your life doing that, that is the time that you're growing and you're building something that no one can take from you. In this planet or another, it's yours. Isn't that reassuring? It is, it is. It's wonderful. Question 181. Even if when the body fades and the organs are, losing, its vitality, the spirit remains. The spirit remains. So knowing that, we are not afraid. We're not afraid, Because even when the time comes that we're going to leave this physical body, leave and go to the spiritual world, which is the true life, right? And even if we're not here anymore on this planet, on a different planet, we have built something that lasts in our journey of eternal spirits. It's amazing. Question 181. Do the beings that inhabit different worlds have bodies similar to ours? So the beings that live in different worlds, would they have bodies that are similar to ours? 2 eyes, 1 nose, 1 mouth. Half of a mouth we should have, right? To talk less, talk half. Use silence more. 2 ears and and all that. How is it? How is the physical body in different worlds? Is that the same? And the answer is amazing. They undoubtedly have bodies because the spirit must be clothed with matter in order to act upon matter. So let's stop right there. So different bodies, we didn't get that answer yet, but for sure we know they have bodies because the spirit must be clothed, must wear the cloth of matter in order to act upon matter. So continuing. This envelope, however, is more material or less so according to the degree of purity the spirit has reached. So it's going to be more or less dense, the physical body, according to the degree of purity the spirit has reached. So according to that degree of purity, then the body will be more or less heavy, dense. Matter can be more fluidic, can be more subtle in worlds where more evolved. So we're going to continue so we can understand better. This is what determines the difference among the worlds through which we must pass, for there are many dwellings in God's house. There are many dwellings or many mansions in God's house, and therefore many degrees. Some recognize this and are conscious of it here on the earth, but others know nothing at all about it. So when we understand that there are different worlds that are inhabited, we're not the only ones. We do understand there are differences between the type of body or physical body that exists. And according to the level of development of that world, or according to, as the spirits say, the degree of purity they have reached, the matter will be less dense or more dense. In case here, we're super dense. But there are obviously worlds that the cloth that the spirit wears, the matter, doesn't need to be so dense. And again, reiterate here, there are many dwellings in God's house and therefore many degrees. Question 182. Can we accurately know the physical and moral state of different worlds? Can we accurately know the physical and moral state of different worlds? When I read this question, I was always thinking we can't even have that accurate of our world, right? There's so many different samples according to different places, cultures, upbringings. Everything is so different. So we can't accurately know the physical and moral state of here, right? I think it's so beautiful. The other day I was talking to friends about the size of Brazil. And Brazil has so many different types of food, and according to being on the coast or within land, according to the type of colonization, to the north, Portuguese, Africans, to the south, Italians, Germans. So there's so many differences. And we're talking about one country in one world. And there's so many different samples of individuals from these different cultures and different parts of Brazil. So taking by this, we should understand that this is a little drop in the ocean. So you have your friends, you know your friends, you know more or less how they think or how they would act on some situation, but you don't know someone that lives even 10 miles from you, how they would react in certain situations or something. So when Kardec asks here is, can we accurately know the physical and moral state of different worlds? It's a very audacious question. It's very, upfront. It's very direct. Can we, should we understand, at least in general, what it is, and look at the answer? And the answer, when there is a note so big on a question, there is need of clarification. So we're going to read it together. So the answer and then Kardec's note, that is the whole page. So question 182 is loaded with information that is important to us to understand, because this question is very broad. How can we understand accurately the moral characteristics of a different world? Repeating again, can we accurately know the physical and moral state of different worlds? And the answer is, we, the spirits, can only reply to you according to your degree of evolution. So the spirits are telling Kardec, we can only give you the answer according to your understanding. You cannot talk to a child about physics. You cannot talk to a child about engineering. You cannot talk to a 2-year-old about, formulas in chemistry. It's not, there is no capability of understanding. So the spirits say the same thing about us. We, the spirits, can only reply to you according to your degree of evolution. This means that we must not reveal these things to everybody, because not all are in the same position to comprehend them, and hence such revelations would be troubling to them. And such revelations would be troubling to them is in italic. It's like marked very specific on the answer. So we know as much as we can. And the part that we do not know yet is because if we had that knowledge or that revelation would be troubling to us. And then there is Kardec's notes. Big note to this question. As spirit purify themselves, the bodies that clothe them equally approach the spirit nature. So the more evolved they get, the more their bodies would get closer to the spiritual nature. So the matter will be less and less and less dense. Their matter becomes less dense and they no longer painfully drag themselves around on ground. The needs of their physical bodies are less coarse, and they no longer have to destroy other living beings in order to feed themselves. If there is one question that humans that choose not to eat, our brothers from the animal kingdom, this is the answer that justifies that choice. I'm not gonna say that we should do this, that, or, because everyone has, again, a different level of understanding of things, a different level of needs. But one day for sure, when we're more evolved, we will not need to eat animals. And this question brings the very, very good explanation of it. So I'm going to read it again. So if you're a vegan, a vegetarian, and if you choose not to use animals to feed your body, that would be one question that addresses that in a very direct way. So the needs of their physical bodies are less coarse. and they no longer have to destroy other living beings in order to feed themselves. Clear. The more evolved we get, the less we're going to need to use meat as a resource. They are freer, more freedom, and have a perception unknown to us that enables them to see things at a distance. In other words, they can see things through the eyes of their body that we can see only through thought. So it's a different type of perception. So they would see through the eyes of their body, with their physical eyes, what we can only imagine or think. The degree to which spirits are purified is reflected in the moral perfection of the beings in which they are incarnate. So, the degree to which they are purified is reflected in the moral perfection of the beings in which they are incarnate. The animal passions become weaker. Another very sensitive topic here. Animal passions become weaker. What are those? We know which ones they are. So, all our desires, our not sensations, not instincts, but our sensations, they become weaker. The animal passions become weaker, and selfishness gives way to fraternal sentiment. Fraternity is the highest point of everything. So when we feel that towards another human being, we reached the degree that we should be on the understanding of the law of love as taught by Jesus, right? So the selfishness gives way to fraternal sentiment. Let's stop right here. So being fraternal is understanding that the other person is a reflection of me. If the other person is hungry, I feel their pain. I feel their pain. I feel it. So I will try my best to address that. And I will share. I will share mine. I am not going to be able to feel good if I have my belly full and my brother doesn't. And that's fraternity. So when we see here that selfishness gives way to fraternal sentiment, that's the full understanding of the law of love. It is thus that on worlds more highly evolved than our own, wars are unknown. Why? We don't need to fight anymore. We help. Instead of competition, there is cooperation. Competition will not exist. People will collaborate. People will be fraternal. So this is what we aim to be and what we're gonna be. And there are no motives for hatred and discord, because no one would dream of harming a fellow being. I want to live there, don't you? Their intuition concerning the future, which is a security that gives them a conscience void of remorse. A conscience void of remorse. You don't have remorse on your mind. Your conscience is clean. When you go to bed at night, you understand you have done your best for that day. Makes death no longer a cause for any apprehension. Instead, they look upon it without fear and as a simple transformation. The duration of life on different worlds appears to be proportionate to the spirit's degree of moral and physical advancement, and this is perfectly irrational. The less material the body is, the less subject it is to the torments that disorganize it. So if your body is less dense and more close to the spiritual nature, then disease is not an issue. Then the torments that disorganize it are not going to be an issue. So you're going to live longer, of course. The purer the spirit is, the less it is subject to the passions that undermine it. the less it is subject to the passions that undermine it. Getting rid of this is so important, right? We should try to live a clean life, clean conscience, clean eating, clean thinking, fraternal acting, right? And this is the goal, ultimate goal, and this is the destination. We're gonna get there. This is a further design of Providence, who desires for suffering to be shortened as much as possible. So we want to be in this world. We have to build it. We build the kingdom of God within us, and then it reflects on everything we do. And people that have built that kingdom in a group, that group has that light to share, and that community, and that state, and that country, and that planet is composed of beings that are vibrating light, love, fraternity. So this is what we aim to become, and where we want to be. We have a lot of good food for thought tonight, right? And we thank God for having the opportunity to study this wonderful book. So let's say our prayer and thank God for this wonderful moment together. Lord, we thank you for the Spirit's book. We thank you for the codification, for the gospel and the other books. We thank you for bringing us the Consoler. We thank you for giving us a space to pray and to study together. Blessed be the spiritual workers of the Ponto de Luz to provide us for moments like this to happen. And we ask you, Lord, to take good care of all the workers of Ponto de Luz. Bless them with good health, speedy recoveries on their illnesses. And be with us, Lord, for this evening and for all the days to come. And with your permission, we end the study of this evening.